In another setback for President Zelensky, Italy has now shifted its stance on how far it is willing to go in funding and supporting the war effort in Ukraine, signaling a cooler mood in Rome. On December 3, Italy's foreign minister said it would be premature for Rome to participate in NATO's new common procurement scheme for Ukraine, a remark reported by Bloomberg that surprised many allies. Antonio Tajani argued that if ongoing diplomatic efforts to reach a settlement are successful, then the need for a continued large-scale military buildup will effectively disappear and become unnecessary. The PURL initiative is a new US-backed NATO weapons procurement program designed to provide Ukraine with a more predictable pipeline of arms and ammunition as the war with Russia drags on. According to reports, Italy's public finances have been stretched to the limit, and this strain has begun to generate visible tensions within the governing coalition over how much more support can be afforded. As a result, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is recalibrating Rome's support for Kyiv, trying to balance solidarity with Ukraine against mounting budgetary and domestic political pressures at home. This shift comes despite Italy having expressed readiness back in October to join the procurement program, showing how quickly the political and economic calculus has changed. Italy has now become the first EU country to openly state that weapons deliveries to Ukraine could be paused or halted if peace talks gather momentum and reach a critical stage. With this stance, Italy appears to be drifting closer to countries like Hungary and Slovakia, which have been openly skeptical or hostile toward continued large-scale military aid for Ukraine. On December 3, the European Union finalized a deal to phase out and effectively ban Russian gas imports by November 2027, a move that was strongly opposed by Hungary and Slovakia. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán and Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico have both argued that safeguarding their nation's energy security should take precedence over uncompromising support for Ukraine.
Today is indeed a historic day for our Union. Last night, we reached a provisional agreement on the Commission's proposal to fully phase out Russian fossil fuels. We're turning that page, and we're turning it for good. This is the dawn of a new era, the era of Europe's full energy independence from Russia. Many believe this would be impossible. Well, the figures speak for themselves, and let me give you some. Today, Russian gas imports, so LNG and pipeline, are down from 45% at the beginning of the war to 13%. Coal imports are down from 51% at the beginning of the war to now 0%. And crude oil imports are down from 26% to 2% today. I always knew that we could deliver with unity, with resolve, and by building on the extraordinary work of the past 3 years.
There will be a document discussed by the government next week, where we will consider the possibility of filing a lawsuit. Everything will depend a lot on how the European Commission fulfills its obligations towards Slovakia, which were given and signed directly by the President of the European Commission. I also want to repeat that the Slovak Republic voted against this decision, which is about REPowerEU, stopping the flow of gas. We believe that this decision, which should otherwise have required unanimity and which was adopted only by a majority of the member states of the European Union, violated several basic regulations of the European Union as such. We will also be discussing the proposals made by the European Commission in relation to frozen Russian assets in the future government of the Slovak Republic. We are talking about 140 billion euros that the Commission wants to literally give to Ukraine, which raises a huge number of legal questions, a huge number of uncertainties. I must say that at this point, and I have said this repeatedly, I am not a supporter of any financial or legal mechanisms that would lead to the confiscation of frozen Russian assets.
Earlier, Politico reported that Hungary was working to form a Kyiv-skeptic alliance within the EU together with Czechia and Slovakia, with the aim of softening or slowing down future Ukraine-related decisions. Experts warn that the emergence of such a bloc could significantly impede the EU's ability to support Ukraine both financially and militarily, complicating long-term aid packages and defense initiatives.